If you've ever tried to learn web development, you know the feeling. It's like you're handed this super complicated recipe for a meal you've never even heard of. Well, today, we're going to talk about a totally different way to learn, one that goes way beyond just copying and pasting code.
Right? It's such a common feeling. You're typing out all the commands and, hey, things seem to be working, but you have this nagging feeling that you don't really know why. You're following the steps, sure, but you don't actually get the ingredients or what's happening behind the scenes.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about this thing I call the code copying trap. It's probably how a lot of us first started learning, but honestly, it leaves you pretty unprepared for what real development is like.
Does this look familiar? Yeah. So many courses just throw a laundry list of technologies at you. Install this, integrate that, set up some authentication, build an API, and by the end, you've built a project, you've checked off all the boxes. Great. But here's the kicker. Just because you followed the recipe doesn't mean you can actually cook. The second something goes wrong, the second you hit an error you haven't seen in the tutorial, you hit a wall. You're completely and totally stuck. So what's the alternative? How do we break out of this? It's all about a big shift in perspective, moving away from just mimicking and toward real understanding. So let's check out a new way to learn that builds a much deeper, more durable kind of knowledge. See, the secret isn't about memorizing more syntax or copying more projects. The real key, the thing that changes everything, is learning how to build mental models. You're not just memorizing commands, you're starting to actually see the system. So what the heck is a mental model? It's just a picture in your head of how something works, and you do this all the time without even realizing it. You understand plumbing, right? You can picture pipes and water flowing through them. You get electricity. You think of currents and circuits and switches. We can use that exact same skill to understand code. And this is where it gets really cool. The pipes and flow from the real world have direct counterparts in the computing world. We just need to learn a bit of new vocabulary. So instead of pipes and currents, we talk about processes and signals and protocols. Suddenly, these aren't scary, abstract words anymore. They're just the digital version of stuff you already get. So let's put this into practice. When you start thinking about code, not as a list of commands, but as a conversation, all these core web technologies start to click into place. Take a word like protocol. It sounds super technical, right? But it's not. All it means is an agreement on how to talk to each other. It's like grammar. You and I can have a conversation because we've agreed on the rules of English. That's all a protocol is for computers. And that gives us this awesome way of thinking about Node.js. Forget all the complicated jargon for a second. Just picture Node as a simple, programmable walkie-talkie. It's a little device that you set up to listen on a specific channel for a specific kind of message, and then you tell it exactly how you want it to respond. Okay, so if Node is our walkie-talkie, what's a port? Simple. It's the channel it's tuned to. A server might have tons of programs running, but your program is listening on, say, port 3000. It's like a numbered ear, listening for messages meant just for it. And what about something like Express.js? What does it do? Well, think of it as a really smart switchboard operator for your Node walkie-talkie. It grabs the incoming call, it understands what the message is asking for based on its structure, its shape, and then it connects that call to exactly the right department to handle it. All right, so now that we have these handy mental models in our back pocket, let's look at a simple web request again. It's not this big, scary, magical process anymore. It's actually a journey that we can follow step by step. So let's trace the journey of that little message. First, your browser bundles everything up into a nice little request packet. Then that packet zips across the internet. It arrives at the server's address at that specific port, our numbered ear. Then our Node walkie-talkie hears it, and our Express switchboard operator routes the signal. Finally, the server puts together a reply packet and sends it all the way back to your browser. So when you boil it all down, that's the whole game. A signal goes out, it gets changed or transformed in some way, and then a new signal comes back. That is the fundamental loop of pretty much the entire web. And once you get that, it changes how you look at every single line of code. So we're building these amazing mental models, but how do we get them to stick? How do we make sure they're actually correct? Well, it turns out there's a really powerful technique you can use, and it's perfect for today's world. You've probably heard this before, but it's 100% true. The best way to really learn something is to try and teach it. The act of forcing yourself to put a concept into your own words, that's how you find the little holes and gaps in your understanding. You're basically debugging your own brain.
And here's a super practical way to do this. After you learn something new, open up an AI chatbot and just explain the concept to it, like you're its teacher. The AI acts like a perfect mirror. It just reflects your understanding back at you. And you'll immediately see where your model is a little fuzzy, and then you can go back and reinforce the right ideas. It's like having your own personal tutor, 24/7. Okay, let's bring this all home. Because this approach, this way of thinking, doesn't just teach you how to write code. It fundamentally changes how you think about what you're even doing in the first place.
This right here is the biggest takeaway. You're not just a typist hammering out commands you saw in a tutorial. No way. You are a builder, an architect. You are literally constructing a machine that is designed to listen for messages and respond to them in smart, structured ways.
This really elevates your role, doesn't it? You go from being just a coder to becoming a conscious signal designer. You're thinking about the flow of conversation, the structure of the messages, the intent of the whole system. It's just a way more powerful and creative way to think about yourself and your work. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you sit down at your keyboard, just ask yourself, am I just typing out a list of commands from a recipe, or am I actually designing an elegant system of signals? Because the difference between those two mindsets, well, that's the difference between someone who just follows instructions and a true builder.